I'm Monte Thompson. I'm kind of new to the AgriEnergy group. This will be my second season officially being part of the club, I guess. Third season working with the products. I told somebody earlier that I'm naturally skeptical. I ask a lot of dumb questions because I want to know how things work and why they work and a lot of things. But when I first met with Reggie a few years ago with a couple of my customers, I was in the seed business, and he had met with a couple of my clients to try and solve some problems with their organic farms. And I'm sitting there kind of rolling my eyes, and Reggie's telling me this stuff will fix problems and we can solve problems, and Reggie's laughing because that's how it was. He said, you're skeptical. I said, yep. He said, well, I'll be back in June, and we met in, I believe, the end of March. And anyway, I was looking at the crops every week. What they said was going to happen is what happened, and I had never seen that work that way with any inputs in the ag side. Very, very, very interesting. If you have questions with biology, these guys in this room are the dream team, the Yodas, the gurus, the ninjas, whatever you want to call them. They know their stuff, and they've been doing it for a long, long time. But I have a customer in Burlington, Colorado, that's just north of I-70. Excuse me. They grow a lot of dryland corn in that country. And where's my pointer at here, guys? Center button. Okay. Dryland corn, 15,500 population is very typical. 6 inches to 7 inches of rainfall last year. These two fields we're touching here. There's a gap on our picture, but actually the corner's touched. Same soil type, same everything. Treated one field with MVP at 4.5, 5 gallon an acre, and another product called Nano CS. And they typically only run 1 gallon of Loveland's Riser fertilizer product. So the treated field got the Riser and the MVP. The untreated field was strictly the Riser, and there was a severe hailstorm July the 30th. He had called me a couple of days before that and said, what did you do to my field? I said, what do you mean? He said, this treated field is the only thing that is still green in this neighborhood. Everything else looks like onions, all the other corn. And he sent me pictures. It was green, it looked good. Sent me a picture of this untreated field next to it. It was white, looked like onions. Severe hailstorm July the 30th. He calls me, he says, this stuff's beat to a pulp. We're not gonna have any corn. I was up there a few days after that, a week or so, and it was starting to come back. Our MVP treated field was way faster on the recovery than the untreated. The plants were just healthier. Here's our untreated field. We did ear counts, stand counts, everything. Then in August, we thought we were gonna have 40, 50 bushel on the untreated, and in the 80s maybe on the treated side.
So that's what I did. The next one had the video on it.
Okay. We'll show the video in just a second, but ended up with 89 bushel across the scales on the treated side, and 36, 37 bushel, I believe, on the untreated. Can we play that video, or do I need to do something here, guys? Here's the yield monitor pictures. The untreated field, 27 bushel. This number here is, this 89 is pretty much what ended up going across the scales. They were pretty happy. He said our super farmer neighbor that usually has the top yields in the county got beat by our treated MVP field. So we were pretty happy with that, and he's very happy. So here's a couple amateur videos. Thompson with AgriEnergy. We're out here north of Burlington, Colorado with Mr. AJ Warden, Warden Farms. We're taking a look at some corn that was treated with the AgriEnergy MVP Biological. And when was this corn planted, AJ?
June 10th.
Okay. And was this a typical year for you here?
It's been dry.
Extra dry, right?
Extra dry.
What was your rainfall this year so far?
I think so far here it's 7 inches.
7 inches for the year.
Yeah.
And what was the previous crop?
Wheat.
Wheat last year. Was there anything unusual about this field? Would you say this was a typical dryland field for you? This is dryland corn.
This year, no, most of it's dead. We've been fortunate we had some rain here, but not as much as usual.
Right. Most of the corn is dead.
Yeah.
And this field is still hanging in there. It's still green.
Mm-hmm.
Still looks like it's trying to do its thing and finish the corn. Finish the finish the ear out. Here's a representative ear. And what is the population you planted here, AJ?
15.5.
Okay. And this is what, Stein?
9436-11.
Which is what maturity?
101 day.
101 day. And I'd say this is a pretty representative ear, what we saw walking through the field. We dug up a plant or two here. We've got a root system that is really doing its thing. We have a lot of root hairs, a lot of fibrous roots. We took some penetrometer readings here a little bit ago to determine how our soil structure and how compacted the soil is in the root zone where we dug the plants, where the plants are growing. We had very low penetrometer readings. The soil was very porous. What's your experience this year, AJ? What do you think of the MVP product? Was this the only field that you had that on?
Yeah, I bought 100 acres worth and then didn't plant a field, so I double rated this one.
So we ended up with 4 gallons of MVP per acre. And then any of your other corn in the other field we're going to look at here that's untreated, that's just around the hill here, it was not treated with MVP, but was that the only difference?
Yeah. I mean, it had more floss in furrow, but
okay.
I mean, that's basically...
But that was basically the only difference? Okay. And you and I, AJ, did some ear counts and things, what, a couple of weeks ago? Mm-hmm. And today's date is what, September 23rd?
Something.
2022. And so 2 weeks ago, I think it was, we were out here, you and I, and we decided that this field was going to be in the 80-90 bushel range.
Yeah, mid-80s.
And our field around the hill that's untreated was going to be in the 50s.
Mid-50s to low 60s.
Okay. So that's a pretty significant difference.
Yeah. And that's better farm ground over there too.
And that field's better dirt, you say. Okay. Okay. Very, very striking difference. We'll get a sample out of that field, a root sample and some ears, and see what that looks like.
I've never seen this number tiller.
This hybrid tillered out, and and how long have you been planting this hybrid?
This 4th year.
4th year, and you've had it on a lot of different ground.
I've had it on a lot of acres.
A lot of different acres, a lot of different soil types in this area, but never seen it tiller.
Never.
And tillering is a sign of the corn being happy, the corn enjoying its environment. So we'd say that's a pretty good commercial for the MVP product. So we'll venture around the hill and take a look at the untreated next. We're taking a look at some corn that was not treated with MVP versus corn that was treated with the MVP Biological. We have this root ball from this untreated field. As you can see, the soil is not very well flocculated. It is sticking to the roots and not letting go. That is a sign of poor aeration in the soil. And if you notice, there are less root hairs on this root ball than our treated root ball. And we are set up with our camera here in the middle of this field. And as you can see, this corn is very short. The plant health is very poor. it is getting very near harvest. The treated field is going to be a little while yet until it is ready to harvest. It still has a lot more green in the plant. The plants are much healthier. They're going to stand longer. Our treated root, again, has many more hairs on it, many more root hairs, much more fibrous root system. And the only difference was the MVP Biological. The rest of the fertility program was the same. Mr. Warden said that this field is typically a better field, better soils than the treated field. The combine will tell the tail going forward here very soon. But as you can see today, the treated field is much healthier, much more ready to take into harvest. For this untreated field, the plant health is deteriorating rapidly. We have ears from both the treated and untreated. Here's our untreated stalk with our ear. Here's our treated stalk. Treated on the right, untreated on the left. Both had a hailstorm, I believe July the 30th. Both have been through very, very rough conditions this year, only 6 inches of rainfall. But if we open up this year, this shuck, we've got, this is the same variety of corn, the Stein 9436, the 101-day hybrid, and we've got much worse plant health. This ear was much easier to pull off than our treated. We do have some insect damage on this, which is typically a sign of poorer plant health. Here is our treated ear. Again, in a neighboring field, the only difference being the MVP Biological. We have more rows around and we have more kernels and greater kernel depth, it looks like. But a noticeable difference here. Our treated ear, again, 16 around by 40 long. Our untreated ear is 10 around and 30 long. So big difference. And again, poorer ear health. There is an earworm in there digging around, and he's caused some damage. Same corn, both a Viptera corn. So this guy should not have been able to do that. He should have got a little ways in and felt sick and backed out or died. And this year, no damage. We can see some stress periods at pollination on both ears, both the same time. Again, very hot, very dry year. Also a hailstorm in late July. So both of them had the same stresses, just the MVP treated corn was able to weather those storms a little bit better than the untreated. As you can see, striking difference. That was the only time it rained in like 6 months was when Clint and I were up there, so we brought some rain. They were grateful, sort of. Thank you, Clint, for being the videographer. From watching that video, I think I should have not had so many donuts today, but that's okay. This is a field near Panhandle, Texas, conventional grower. The guy had just bought this farm like a year ago. It had not been irrigated. It was dryland wheat for years and years. And his sprinkler company was supposed to be there and have a pivot up in March. March rolled by, April into May, still no sprinkler up. They had the wells drilled and everything in the underground, but no sprinkler. It was into May, and he decided he better plant. There was supposed to be a rain. Rain did not materialize, so he went ahead and planted, though, and waiting on the sprinkler to get put in. This was the soil structure in this field. As we went at the beginning of the year, he applied 4 tons of compost. He did some strip till, put down some anhydrous, a little bit of phosphorus from another company. But right after right ahead of planting, right ahead of his field cultivator pass after his manure application. We put down 10 gallon an acre of MT17 to try and break that manure down and get it available this year. And then going through the season, we ran into some issues. Most of it was caused by lack of water. This was in July. He said, this corn doesn't look very good. There's another picture going forward here, I think will show more of the field, but the corn is very short, very stunted. This root here looked like a fettuccine noodle or something. It was long and skinny. It hit a restrictive layer where my knife was and went horizontal. These roots were doing the same thing. That was about a 4 or 5 inch depth. So the roots were not getting anywhere. There was really no moisture below that point. So when he did get his pivot up, the water really wasn't infiltrating very well. We can see here kind of the top of the ground was wet, but it did not penetrate the soil very much. Yeah, here's a picture of this field. As you can see, this corn's having a rough go. It was very hot, very dry. They were in the, I think they ended up with 6 or 7 inches of rainfall also for the season there. But he said, well, one agronomist told me I need to disc this up and forget it. Well, he had a contract with a feed yard there for some corn that was really, really good. He needed the bushels. I said, I think we can save it. We talked with the team here and came up with a plan. We applied 3.5 gallons of MVP through the pivot along with a quart of Oro RZ. It is a soil penetrant from the same people that make Oro Boost. It is a very good tool. I had no experience with that prior to this, but going forward you'll see it really worked. We added some seaweed to help with the plant stress. Seaweed is a very, very cheap way to help mitigate some stress. Is it going to make up for no rain and 100-degree temperatures for a month? No, not by itself, but it's another tool in the toolbox that works very well. This is that same field after corn harvest. This is a few feet from that first picture back over here. I was in the same area of the field. I can't guarantee it was the same exact spot, but same area, same soil type. This is after corn harvest, after all that biology. He ended up taking 160-ish bushels of corn across the scales to the feed yard at 10 something a bushel. Corn in our area is at a premium right now. At harvest, we were out. He had a plot in one part of this field, and I went down to help him harvest the plot. And we're walking across the field, and I went back to go talk to the farmer. I said, "Have you walked across this field?" He said, "Well, yeah, I've been out here, all day harvesting." I said, "Well, somewhere where the semis aren't parked, have you just walked across the ground?" He said, "Well, no." I said, "Well, come on, let's go." And we walked over to where that plot was, and he said, "What did you do to this field?" It's like walking on my living room carpet. The tilth had increased. We've got this well flocculated soil. The particles are great. Yeah, it had a lot of water on it through the season from irrigation, but without the biology, we sure wouldn't have seen that. So it's really windy here. But just to show the effect of a lot of biology on the soil, this soil is very mellow. The shovel goes into the ground very easily. We could not do that last summer at all. And as we open this soil up, we see it is very well flocculated, nice particle size, a lot of roots, no restrictive layers. Last summer early there was a definite restrictive layer. Right after planting, roots went horizontal. We don't see that now. Again, effects of biology. Shovel going in the ground with 1 foot and very easy, and anyway, the stuff works. Is it a miracle cure? No, but we can solve a lot of problems, especially with a little bit of planning ahead, not rescue treatments like this deal, but it worked. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Monte.